Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another live session with the Hype Magazine. I'm your editor-in-chief, Jerry Dobie, and this evening, I have the distinct pleasure of having the assistant Nzinga Blake on with us. She is the producer for a documentary that is based on a special story covered in National Geographic in July, and it is dealing with prominent indigenous voices speaking up about reclaiming their land. And I believe it is called Our America. Reclaiming Turtle Island is the name of the piece. And here's our producer, Nzinga Blake, amazingly talented person and busy. I'm looking at your titles here and I'm going, man, how does she make this happen? Talk to me. Reclaiming Turtle Island. Welcome, first of all.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm hyped. Ha, no pun intended.
I appreciate it.
Hello. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Jerry, for having me on. Yes, this project was really probably one of my favorites of this year. We're really busy as a race and culture content team at ABC on television stations. I'm an executive producer for that. And so our whole ethos is all about amplifying, of course, Ziggy Smalls strikes again. But so yes, anyway, with this particular project, the leadership in our organization, our SVP in particular, Adrienne Anderson, has a regular meeting with National Geographic. And so they were talking about, over the summer, they were talking about this issue, right? This is it, National Geographic, we are here. And so, when Adrienne saw it, she was like, oh my gosh, we have to do something about this. And then that's why I was invited into the conversation. And I had the fortunate pleasure of reading the entire story. And I was blown away. Because I was blown away. And I was also really sad because we never learned about Native American history growing up. And it's not like we went to good schools. But that's one, we never learned about the indigenous people of this land, right?
Right.
And so I was instantly inspired to do the story justice, because I read about the incredible people that were featured in this magazine. And I love traveling. I've traveled ever since I was a young girl. But of course, when you see National Geographic photographers, there's a little bit of FOMO, like I want to experience that.
Right.
So being able to ask National Geographic if we could travel with the photographer, Kiliii Yüyan, who photographed some of these individuals, all of the individuals in the magazine. Kiliii, thankfully, was available for the first part of the documentary.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where that, and he actually took us to introduce us to the cover model, Quannah Chasinghorse. And she is taking the fashion industry by storm. And you know what? The one thing I love about her is that it's not just her look, it's about what she stands for. Being an advocate, being an activist, being a land protector. And when you meet her, you understand where she comes from when you meet her mother, who's a tribal leader. And so these women are just extremely powerful. And they use their platforms to really speak up about, issues that Native communities are facing around Turtle Island. And I was really excited to talk about reclaiming cultural preservation, like reclaiming traditional practices, specifically traditional tattoos, and what that meant. Yes. In fact, Quannah is the first girl in her tribe in 100 years to have a tribal tattoo. She got hers when she was 14. And Jody explained to us that, these tattoos have a lot of meaning. There's so much significance behind them. It's medicine, there's so much to it. You have to watch the special though to learn more, of course. But it was, to me, being a storyteller, a filmmaker, you always have these, you always know the story that you want to tell.
Right.
But in this case, when we're telling stories about historically underrepresented and marginalized communities, we can't take that approach. We have to be the student first. And that is the approach I took first. And I wanted to ask them, what have we done wrong in the media? Telling your stories.
Oh, loaded question, wasn't it?
Yeah. And what stories do you want to tell? What do you want to focus on? Because that's really the collaborative process when you are really producing inclusive stories.
Right.
And so, like I said, this was such a labor of love. I felt like we really built community, meeting Quannahs and Jody and then of course Taboo, but we'll get back. I know we'll get to him, but the family in Western New York who talked about food sovereignty. And we don't really think about how Native Americans were able to be conquered. Well, their food systems were destroyed. And there's so many powerful gems that were dropped in this documentary. Like I said, I didn't know any of this stuff. And so I think I'm excited about it because schools can probably, play it for social studies classes. Peter Jemison, who is a historian and artist. In the beginning, we did the creation story to explain how Turtle Island became to be. And that was narrated by Taboo, but Peter Jemison did the artwork because we wanted this to be extremely authentic. So I wanted like a Native American artist to basically kind of like, I basically used art to help as a visual guide to get people to understand how this beautiful creation story came to be. So yeah, I mean, as you could tell, I'm just like, it was such a fun project to be part of.
Yeah, you got me like, okay, when is this?
So anyway, but it already released in our 8 markets, but then the Hulu premiere nationwide is going to be on the 25th, but you can also go to reclaimingturtleisland.abc to stream it.
Okay. So
there you go.
Am I on mute?
No, but I do have our 8 markets if I can tell you real quick.
Okay. Oh.
Okay, so it's already aired. Yeah, there you go. It's already aired in our 8 markets in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Houston, Raleigh-Durham, and Fresno. So that aired this weekend. And then, like I said, you could see it at reclaimingturtleisland.abc, and our Hulu premiere will be on Native American Heritage Day, which is on the 25th.
On the 25th? Okay.
Yeah.
So what is Turtle Island? We got to ask that specific.
We are standing on it. Turtle Island is a common indigenous term for North America. And yeah, again, did not know, mind blown, right?
No. Yeah.
I had no idea. So that's why I thought it was so important for us to start the special off with an explanation of how the creation story of how Turtle Island came to be. Mm-hmm. And it was so beautifully narrated by Taboo from Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, we're going to get to him. I'm excited to talk to you. Everybody knows Taboo, and it's great that he's a part of this project and his star power and all that good stuff. But, you stepped in as a Black woman to produce this story. Regardless of your title, you have to step into, like, men can't tell a woman's story. A Black person normally couldn't tell an indigenous person's story because their perspective and their experience is a bit different from the beginning, literally. So, talk to me about that experience and what set you on, what just really drove you.
Like I said, we've been tasked to tell stories. Well, let me rewind. We are not telling stories of these people. We are creating a platform for them to tell their stories.
Okay.
For too long, our stories have been told through other people.
Yes.
And not everybody gets it right? Because there's preconceived notions, there's stereotypes, right?
Yes.
So that is precisely what I did not want to do. That is why I said my approach was I became a student first. I asked a lot of questions. When I read the article, yes, I came up with a concept of how I envisioned the documentary to flow. I wanted it to feel like a journey, like the chapters. I wanted to pay homage to the story. But for me, I also consulted with some executives who are of Native American descent within the
Okay.
Walt Disney Company.
Okay.
And every single person who I wanted to be in this documentary from the that were featured in the article, I asked them how they felt about it. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about the title?
Mhm.
I wanted everybody to know that I was coming from a place of respect. And I wanted to honor this community that just, has felt so excluded and ignored for centuries.
Lied to, abused,
Absolutely.
displaced.
Yep. Completely stripped from their identity. And so, quite frankly, I think that as Black and Brown people, we can relate to that in some sort of way, right?
Yeah,
Um,
indeed.
right. Yeah. And so, my parents were born into colonialism in West Africa, in Sierra Leone, and
Mhm.
they weren't taught their history. They were taught British history.
Right.
So that was really what inspired me to do this project, because I felt like it was also a journey for me as well. Because I feel like there's so much more that we need to do as the African diaspora to tell
Mm.
stories,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
talk about our history, to make sure that there is preservation of culture, because there is a threat of it being lost,
Indeed.
right? So,
Lost or not
yeah,
reclaimed, you
and
know.
not reclaimed, right? So it was a nice exercise, to say the least, for future stories that we could be doing for our own communities and for other communities as well. But this particular one was special.
I hope you'll continue to include the Hype magazine in your storytelling. We want to share these. I've got a very interesting audience. They're diverse. Ah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and they're inquisitive and they want to learn. So, um, you know, please feel free to have your team, keep us
Oh,
abreast of what's
absolutely.
going on. So you've answered what is Turtle Island, and you've answered the inspiration for creating Turtle Island. But there's a technical term that you've used, native sovereignty.
Hmm.
What does that mean for the layperson?
So the layperson, exactly. Well, native sovereignty is the inherent authority of American tribes to govern themselves and honor and preserve their cultures and traditions,
Okay,
right?
yeah,
Yep.
that's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
Hmm. What you say?
Yeah.
What are some of the prominent people and voices that are featured in the film? We already got Taboo,
We
but
got Taboo. Yes, we talked about Quannah Chasinghorse and her mother Jody Potts-Joseph, who was actually um, on a National Geographic television show, first Life Below Zero,
okay.
first Alaskans. Yeah,
I love to watch that show. I watched that series.
you do.
Yes,
Yes, Jody.
can't
Yes, so Jody.
fathom living there, but it's exciting to watch them deal
Oh,
with it.
Jody is a rock star.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. We spent 3 days with them. That's what I'm saying. It's like it wasn't just parachuting into, onto a scene and like, just interviewing and then leaving. No, we actually spent time. And when the cameras were off, they invited us to sit with them and eat with them. And yeah, and it was like, it's like family, you know? Um, and then when I went to Ganandagan, which is in upstate New York, it's called Victor. Ganandagan was the indigenous name. The Jemisons, Peter Jemison and his wife Jeanette, Peter's son Ainsley Jemison, they all took us around the historic site of Ganandagan and their white corn project, because white corn was a staple crop
Mhm.
um, since the beginning of time. And so now these people are reclaiming that power of growing their own food, traditional foods. And there's a wonderful person by the name of Angel Jemison, and they spoke to us about how just being able to, and just as a young person, what that had that this white corn project, and being able to, as like a Gen Zer, participate in traditional ways of life really helped with their mental health. It's a beautiful thing and really powerful, and really helped with connecting with other humans, right? Then you have Angela. Oh, Angela Ferguson, my goodness. Ooh, Angela, she was also dropping some gems.
Okay.
And the significance of the seeds of the corn. I learned so much about corn. It's corn.
Ah!
I learned so much, but seriously, I learned so much.
I love it. I love it.
I learned so much. I didn't know that there were like thousands and thousands and thousands of variations of corn with different colors, and I got to see all of this when I was there. I got to eat traditional foods, pre-colonial foods. It was just, again, a beautiful journey. Yes, getting to meet each and every one of them.
Pre-colonial food.
Pre-colonial diets. Yes.
So, no ham steaks, no bacon.
Oh, it was.
I'm not a fan of corn. I like to look at it. It's pretty. And
these ones are beautiful.
Yeah. I love to look. I worked in a cornfield when I was a youngster. And so I robed and detasseled corn, and horrible experience. I don't like corn anymore. So, but I like to look at it from afar. And all right, so we were talking about the inspiration, and now we got to move into what it was like incorporating Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas into this project. Very serious dude, but funny as hell.
He is so funny, so nice, and it was so surreal how this whole thing happened. So he was giving a talk across the company. It was a virtual conversation with Tab, and the head of a woman who runs our Native American employee resource group. She, again, my boss, Adrian Anderson, the SVP, was like, "Oh my gosh, it'd be so great if we could get Tab. Did you see this?" And I was so busy filming. I was like, "I haven't seen it yet." So she sent it to me. I was like, "Oh my gosh, it would be so great if we could get him." And so I reached out to Dawn Jackson, who was really the consultant for me. She was fantastic. This whole process. She was like, "Dawn, do you think Taboo would be interested?" She goes, "You know what? All we can do is ask." So she said, "Why don't you send me the treatment?" Because I love putting treatments together and decks and things like that. The treatment for the documentary. And the next thing you know, I get a phone call. And I'm like, "Hello?" And I heard, "Hey, Nzinga, this is Tab." And I was like, "Tab, like, yeah, Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas." I was like, "Oh my God. Hi." And he's like, "First of all, I just want to let you know I really loved this treatment. I love the project. I want to be part of it." And funnily enough, I met Taboo when I was in college, when they did their MTV campus tour, the first time the Black Eyed Peas were out. And I said, "This is so weird, dude, because I met you a long, long time ago at the MTV." And he was like, "Stop." He's like, "This is full circle." And when you talk about someone who is such a powerful voice, a leader, really down to earth, they don't make them like that anymore.
Apparently not.
Yeah. And then him being a Marvel comic book writer, bringing more Native American representation into Marvel comics, like
unheard of. They have had, indigenous people as characters for a long time in the comic books, and I used to be an avid comic book collector when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I was a military brat, so we
Okay.
moved a lot. Books were my friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I never heard of an indigenous person being a part of the creation, the
Right.
creative process of
Exactly.
Marvel. Personally, what do you hope that viewers will take away from this film?
No, I was telling Vanessa, I really love this question because,
Because she wrote it.
huh? No. Like, no, I mean, when we have these conversations, because even just getting to know Vanessa, right? These questions always come up. And a lot of people will ask me that. And I love it because the one quote that comes to mind is I heard this at a talk and it stuck with me. And the quote is, curiosity is the cure to ignorance. Okay. The reason why that sticks with me is because when you are responsible for telling stories of historically underrepresented, marginalized communities, you have to know that there's going to be vitriol, comments, the comments, terrible. And the one comment that I cannot stand when I see people say, who cares? When you're sitting there talking about inequalities or you're celebrating communities, you know what I mean, for achievements, who cares? That's the problem. This is why we are in this state, right, of division. And so I always try to think about how can I create content where people are inspired, they're entertained, but most importantly, they are curious. They want to learn more about a certain community or about, certain social ills that impacts that community. And instead of, we move from who cares to why or how, And so that is, for me, I want people to be so much more curious about the various Native nations of this land, the original people of this land, because then we can come to a place of understanding and we can come to a place of respect for all Native Americans across Turtle Island.
I agree. If we could get our social media thumbs to stop moving, actually go read something, watching a factual historical film, stay
Right.
off the Western Channel, we can learn a lot about the roots and the things that actually developed this country.
Right.
We're standing on the shoulders of some magnificent people, creatives, warriors, thinkers,
Correct.
philosophers, that were here well before, their culture got adulterated by the Europe. I'm sorry. I get slick from time to time. I apologize. I don't mean to offend anyone.
Right.
But at my age, I really don't care.
Oh.
And I tell the truth. So talk to me about what it was like creating this project as someone who's not Native American.
It was a huge honor, first and foremost. I get really excited, when I get to do these types of projects, because I think a lot of the times, and this is before I joined Disney, I think as Black people, as creatives, people only think that you're capable of only telling your own stories, Black stories. And at the end of the day, it's like, no, I tell human stories. I tell stories about humanity. So it's really refreshing to be in this position, because I feel like there's times, when you are put in that box, here is a product that I can showcase. Like, yes, this is a creative this is something that I creatively conceptualized, you know, and I'm really excited because of all of the key players that collaborated with me on this. We brought in an Indigenous editor, Tracy
Okay.
Quezada. She is phenomenal. She was able to identify so much with Taboo's story because, Taboo's Mexican and Native American. She's Mexican Indigenous. But because of assimilation and, people, like literally people stripping you of your identity, her family doesn't really know exactly like their Indigenous line. And so she got really emotional to be a part of this. The gentleman who did the key art.
Get some water or something. You get some water. Take your time.
Okay.
All right.
Gotta get my inhaler.
Go get your inhaler, please. Health
No,
first.
I'm okay. I'm
Sure,
okay.
we can put it on pause.
No, I'm just taking a quick moment.
Okay.
So, yeah, the gentleman who worked on the key art and also did part of the creation story, he's Cherokee. He's of Cherokee descent. So it was a truly beautiful collaboration. And I definitely won't take credit for all of it. Yes,
I ain't mad at you. All right.
You know what I mean? Because it was a collaborative effort with some key players. And I'm really thankful to have been able to be part of this process and at least to lead it.
I appreciate you as somebody born here, for you taking the time and it hitting your heart and your mind, like, look, this is something that must be done, and it must be done correctly. For those of us that are born here, and if we have any Southern roots, which most of us do, South Carolina, Florida, and things like that, the indigenous people were the first allies that we had and gave us refuge in the swamps. Here in America, South Carolina, Florida, Louisiana, the indigenous peoples are the ones that hit us out first, long before the railroad. Long before that. And the Seminoles and the Blackfeet were among the first to really absorb Blacks into their culture. So they are more than Wounded Knee. Okay.
Right.
Which is the story that's always told.
Yes.
They're more than, look, they've been the backbone of multiple cultures here.
Yeah.
And the story, and I know that you had limited time and you couldn't get all the juice out of the meat, so to speak, but maybe you'll get an opportunity to do a part 2 and expand, and it would be amazing. So, I think it's very special for you as a representative, and I can say it from my side, of the Black community, to tell the story of the indigenous people who helped us out so much and contributed so much and taught us how to survive. And, the first pioneers here that, left the coast and went inland, they needed guides and they needed tradecraft and forest craft and things like that. So we're here on the backs of these giants. Anyway, so we've already talked about, our America Reclaiming Turtle Island is going to be on Thanksgiving Day, ironically.
Native American Heritage Day.
Native American Heritage Day.
Which is the day after Thanksgiving.
Which is what day? So I thought Thanksgiving was on the 25th. Thanksgiving's on the 24th.
Yep, Thanksgiving's on the 24th. And
Okay.
Native American Heritage Day is
Native American Heritage Day. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, please forgive me. I just do
not. Oh no! Oh my gosh! Please do not.
A very important piece of work, I think, that is a dynamic metaphor that we have a Black woman telling the story of an entire nation.
Well,
that would sink in. That's
let's reframe that. Remember, it's It's creating the platform
Creating the
for
platform
them to tell
to tell the story.
That is the approach.
I apologize for misbehaving.
No, it's not apologizing. It's just the media framing, right? It's like, this is what it takes. This is what inclusive content storytelling is all about.
Mhm. Well, I love the wording. We give, because that's what we made our bones on, giving people the platform to tell their story.
That's right.
We don't tell it, we let them tell it. And I respect exactly the wording coming from you. And I will make sure that I use it that way from now on.
Thank you. See, we learn. We
Not
learn.
too old. I'm great, but I'm not too old.
No, you're not old at all. What you talking about?
I'll be 60 coming this year.
Oh, stop it.
I'm just starting though. Y'all don't
It
know.
is
I'm
not
trouble.
crack.
I have trouble.
Oh my gosh. No, Jerry, it does not crack at all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Look, is there anything that you wanted to cover that I may have missed?
Oh no, I quite frankly, I enjoyed this conversation so much. Thank you. Usually I'm like nervous, but you just have such a great energy and so calming that I was just able to speak from my heart. And
I appreciate it because I'm a very receptive person. I feel like I'm an aggressive listener. And how can you not be comfortable with somebody who's got an Ebony magazine and vinyl records behind them? I'm like as down to earth as it gets. You see my Pop-Tarts over there? I got a little collection of goofy stuff. I'm just a real dude.
yes, you are.
I'm just a real dude. I am honored to have made your acquaintance, and I look forward to speaking to you again. And I hope you won't forget about us, because the Hype magazine is definitely on your side as you continue to give others a platform to tell their story.
Yes, Jerry.
So it comes out in their most authentic voice.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. And I'll try to refrain. I'm not going to try to refrain from making snide remarks in the future when I have amazing people like yourself, because you're telling stories that need to have exclamation points from time to time. And I like to provide those in the midst of the commentary. But look, our America Reclaiming Turtle Island, you know, this is an initiative by ABC own television. Please, I got this. You got to coach me on everything. I can breathe. I
apologize.
I'm having so much fun with you. I love this. Anyway, we follow actually quite a few of the initiatives of the ABC owned television stations around the country. They have such great initiatives on throughout the year, and we're staunch supporters of those. And this one is special to me because I recognize that the Native people have been relegated oftentimes in Tier 1 media as whiners, complainers, and ingrates. There's nothing that awesome that the European culture brought to this land that blanks out, whites out a great tradition, a great people who throughout the centuries, without becoming emotional, were displaced, lied to, massacred, including women and children. I don't have to be nice. I don't work for ABC. But it's really important that these people are able to say, you know, my great-great-grandfather was a part of this, or maybe took this expedition from this point A to point B, and this is where we've ended up. They need to be able to tell their stories of their food culture. I didn't know, 500 types of corn, but everything is
thousands,
and, of corn, and how to respect animals. One of the things I love was they respected the animals. When you had to take an animal, you took what you needed, not more than.
Yes.
Greed wasn't a thing.
And you thank the animal for
Yes.
nourishing your body.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask this last question, maybe two.
Okay.
Since you have a sense of humor, I might get the second one out.
Oh boy.
Hands up. All right. As a representative for this department,
Mhm.
I'm sure you've done interviews with everybody, their cat, uncle, and dog, right? Has there been a question that we in the media have failed to ask you that you might have always wanted to address?
Oh, that's a good question. To ask our department, to ask like,
Ask you as a creative, as a producer, in charge of, this department. I mean, it's serious. You have a huge responsibility.
a huge responsibility. It is. I think honestly, we covered it today.
Okay.
The approach.
Mhm.
The approach. I don't think sometimes we talk about, the platform, giving people the platform, but I think a specific approach of like asking people.
Mm.
What have
I
we
would
done?
love to know, how do you go about that? It's like asking a producer the
Well,
process to creating a great track, but
you know what? You have to build trust. You can't just go into someone that you've never met and ask them that question.
mm,
Um, doing documentaries are about building relationships with people that, you're working to give them that platform to tell their stories.
right.
And so I think that um, it starts with a lot of conversations, just candid conversations,
Mm,
uh, making people understand your intentions from the onset. This is who we are. This is what we do. We're all about telling your stories authentically,
mm,
giving you the opportunity to tell your stories. And I think that is something that helps a lot when it comes to building that trust between various community members from different, walks of life, background, cultures. Um, so
Did you have any initial pushback as you started this project from the from the native people?
none, absolutely none.
That's beautiful.
This, we always say that this project was blessed from the start, but I think it's because of the intentionality. Because we were like, okay, so here's this beautiful, magazine that talks about Native sovereignty um, from a, you know, from a very established medium that is National Geographic. And this is what we want to do in collaboration with them as ABC owned television stations. Are you interested? And also, most importantly, what story would you like to tell? What aspect of sovereignty would you like to talk about? When I say reclaiming Turtle Island, what does that mean to you? And those are when you get the beautiful answers. Most important thing you have to do as a filmmaker is really listen.
Mm.
And not listen to respond, but listen to understand. That's a hard thing to do sometimes because you want to tell the story that, like, well, I know I want to tell X, Y, and Z, but you got to pull back.
Right. Yeah. If you're asking someone to tell their story, it means you don't know.
No.
So I
Right.
know is not an appropriate response at all, ever. My opinion. So I would like to let you get back to your blankets and chicken soup. If you eat chicken, now you might, you might just be plain broth. But
Well, no, it's in West Africa. We got something called pepper soup.
what is it?
Pepper
You
soup.
said you said cup of soup.
No, pepe, like pepper soup, but we call it
Oh,
pepe.
oh,
Yes,
pepper soup.
soup.
Okay.
Yes. So that whenever you're sick, you make your pepe soup, which is like, it's broth, it's chicken. Sometimes there's even some oxtails.
Mm,
Yep. Some yams,
mm.
potatoes, carrots. It's almost like a gumbo, I guess.
See, you can't talk to me like that this time of night. Make me mess up my diabetical routine. I love me some oxtail. Get me in the kitchen cooking.
Listen, it is all about portion control. You can have your oxtails. Look, I got a dietitian from mother. You can have your oxtails. It's all about portion control.
Yeah, yeah, but for me, a portion is there's a Jerry-sized portion and there's a normal person.
You can't make me laugh.
Yeah, yeah. See, other folks might be satisfied with 3 or 4 oxtails. I want the entire package.
A pack, yeah.
Yeah, my serving platter is like bigger than this screen. It'll go out of frame for real, for real. Last but not least, in respecting your time and your patience with me, I really appreciate it. What has been the funniest WTF moment thus far in your career? Something that just had you rolling on the ground crying. You got one?
I do.
Can we hear it?
When I worked for Current TV, and I went to cover the annual Redneck Games.
Hey, stop! Oh shit, that's wrong. Oh.
It's literally in my reel because everyone was like, "Are you crazy?" And I was like, "No." In fact, the president at the time, we had this one guy, Johnny Bell. He was the guy who would, he's the fun festival guy who would cover all these interesting festivals around the country. And so he's like, "Oh my gosh, there's a redneck game." And someone was like, "Ha, wouldn't it be funny if we sent Nzinga to go cover it?" And they were just, and I was like, "Actually, I'd love to go." And the president was like, No, Nzinga, that was a joke. As a Jewish man, I am not sending you down there. It's not happening." And I said, "Okay, tell me why." He's like, "Really?" And I said, "This is the problem with this country. You have conceived notions about these people. How do you know how they're going to react to me? Let me go. Let me go and see what happens." And I went and I looked as unthreatening as possible. I had my little Daisy Duke shorts and my little crop top, put pigtails in my hair. They actually call me Daisy.
Did you really do that?
I did. But I learned it was so interesting because they were like the guy who was like the king of the annual Redneck Games, his name was Elbow.
Yep. Oh my God.
Yes, and Elbow taught me about how the reason why rednecks are called rednecks is because they worked in the field with the slaves. Their necks are red. So, and I didn't know this, and I was like, "Oh, is this true? I didn't know any of this. I didn't know any of this." But I say all that to say that it was very interesting. It was I tried moonshine, which they called Panther Piss.
Yeah.
They had a lot of different competitions like bobbing for pig feet, the mud pit belly flop, armpit serenade, the mullet competition.
The who what?
Mullet competition. Oh yes. Oh yeah. But I gotta tell you, it was actually a lot of fun. And until this one guy was like, "Excuse me, ma'am." I said, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Just want to let you know, I really respect you." I said, "Oh, really? That's very nice, sir." He's like, and I said, "But why?" And he goes, "Because you's a colored lady and you down here with all this white folk." And I said, "Well, sir, we don't use the word colored anymore, right? We just don't use that word."
Oh my
And
God.
he was like, "Well, I don't mean no disrespect, but it's better than calling you N-word. And I was like, oh. And I was like, okay, now we got to wrap it up because N-word's starting to be slang around here. But yeah, but there was a lot of Southern hospitality.
I can imagine.
I've never been kissed on the cheek by so many toothless men before in my life. It was very interesting.
They ain't been that close to chocolate in a minute.
Like, that was the thing. Like, my whole point was, I have to be willing to step outside of whoever you are, wherever you are. The beautiful thing about humanity is, like, you have to be willing to step outside of your world to learn about others. And that was the whole point.
Yeah. That's a bigger way of saying hello starts the network.
Yes, right.
That's what it is.
That was fun.
I appreciate you so much. Vanessa's in the background talking about, no, I want more.
I know, right? I see her.
Yeah, she is sick.
Only when she mentioned the National Redneck Games, I literally Googled this as she was talking because I didn't even know that this was a thing. And I had to go find out. And I was like, you cannot say Redneck Games and then just end it there. Like,
right, exactly. This was in East Dublin, Georgia.
I saw that and when I Googled and I saw the bobbing for pig feet as a competition. Yeah, it's a real thing.
A real thing.
Yeah. First of all, I don't like pig feet. I'm damn not stick in my face in a bucket of water where 1,000 other people that had their face spitting and slobbering.
They have a seed spitting competition.
That I could do. The grape seed stuff. I could do that.
Wow.
A toilet seat
toss. Yep. And my favorite was the trophy. It's like a trophy, but the top is a crushed Bud Light can.
Wow.
It's amazing.
That's hilarious. Who had the Mountain Dew house? The Mountain Dew can house?
Oh my gosh. Someone actually talked about Mountain Dew. That's really funny that you said that. Yes. Yeah. Because I was like, my question was, what makes you a redneck? And he was, we've got horses in our garage, and he said something about Mountain Dew, and that's so funny that you said that.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. All right, everybody. Nzinga Blake, she's an amazing human being, amazing creative. Her humanity shines through in her productions, and want to thank you for stepping into that leadership role. It's a lot to take on, but you have obviously handled it well, and I'm looking forward to on Native American Heritage Day, November the 25th, the day after Turkey Day, watching this in full. And somebody gonna hear about it. They go hear about it on Tribal. They go hear about it on Post. They go hear it on Mastodon. They go hear it on Twitter and Instagram. What I think about it. And I really appreciate the opportunity to have spent this time with you. I look forward to spending more.
Likewise.
I want you to feel better soon. Wishing you much continued success. And until then, the Hype Magazine Live Sessions, we've had Nzinga Blake, Our America, Reclaiming Turtle Island, put out there by ABC-owned television stations. And it's one of the great things that they do, November the 25th. Check your locals,
Hulu
stations and all that good stuff. Huh?
Hulu. You can stream it on Hulu, but you can also stream it on reclaimingturtleisland.abc.
There it is there.
And there's Ziggy Smalls outside. But thank you so much, Jerry, for your support. This was so much fun.
Thank you for allowing me to be myself. I really appreciate you and spending this time with me. Until next time, we're out.